Hello and welcome to another Warrior Creed live stream with me, the radical Majid Nawaz. And today we are discussing the topic of Iran and the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The topic is entitled Lebanon bans Iranian terror group Hezbollah and seeks a permanent peace with Israel as the region unites against Iran. Yes, the result after a week of this ongoing conflict is to some perhaps counterintuitive, but of course our regulars will know that we mentioned it would unfold in this way last week, and we're going to dedicate this stream to indicating just how that unfolds for you in the way that we've just said. But the cartoon first on your screens now, you can see a box there of whack-a-mole indicated or labeled as the Arab world. And then there is President Trump and there is an Iranian leader playing whack-a-mole with the Arab world. The USA has scored 3 and Iran so far has scored 2. We felt that that cartoon was apt considering the topic and the reality of what's unfolding on the ground. This is indeed an attempt by the Iranian leadership to seize leadership of the entire Middle East. They declared a jihad against Israel and the United States of America, expecting the entire Muslim world to rally behind them, in particular because of the way in which Netanyahu and his Likudnik Zionists behaved in Gaza. The Iranian theocrats expected that the vast majority of the world's Muslims, Sunni Muslims as they are, would rally behind them in this so-called jihad against America and Israel. Well, events did not unfold as the Iranian theocrats had intended. Instead, what you're about to witness and the rest of the stream will demonstrate is that the Sunni Muslim Arab world and the Sunni world generally, but also some Shia, united instead against Iran. Now, that may sound curious to some, especially for those that live on social media bubbles, but don't worry, we're going to unpack it all over the course of this stream. So stay with us. We'll be right back after this introduction.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. Witness the strength of street knowledge. Street knowledge.
Terrorize the jam like troops in Pakistan.
Street knowledge. Street knowledge. Quick service announcement brought to you in part by Warriors.
Damn, that shit was dope.
And welcome back to another Warrior Creed live stream with me, the radical Majid Nawaz. Today's topic: Lebanon bans Iranian terror group Hezbollah and seeks peace with Israel as the region unites against Iran. Many that live in their social media bubbles would be surprised by the title of today's show, would immediately react into assuming that this stream, that radical media and that yours truly have absolutely no idea about how this war is unfolding. So convinced are they that this is a moment in which the Iranian theocrats have seized leadership over the Muslim world against Israel and America, that all evidence seems to them alien. But if you're brave enough, stay with us till the end of this stream and we'll demonstrate the contrary for you. For our regulars, though, you, of course, will be accustomed to the fact that these such bold statements in the beginning of the stream as we make them will not come without receipts. We will spend the rest of this stream demonstrating precisely how it is that the Arab world, the Sunni Muslim Arab world, and the Muslim world in general has, instead of uniting against Israel and the United States of America, which you would expect to have happened in this instance, what has in fact unfolded is that the Sunni Muslim Arab world and the Muslim world in general has united against Iran. And partially the reason for that, well, in fact, a large factor for that is because of the Iranian theocrats' own deluded behavior. And that's partly what we need to break down for everybody. And it starts with this. before we get into some of what we've got in store for the rest of the stream. Just factor in this, and that is that the Iranian theocrats, high and drunk on their own conviction and self-righteousness, decided that after the US and Israel attacked them, that in the immediate aftermath of this attack, the best decision for them would be to launch missiles against their Sunni Muslim Arab neighbors in the middle of the sacred month of Ramadan, sending Iranian missiles towards the Holy Lands in Saudi Arabia. And somebody in the Iranian regime, led by these Shia Islamist theocrats, thought that that would be a good idea, that it would be a good idea in the middle of the most sacred of months in the Islamic calendar, while all Muslims are in a heightened sense of prayer and fasting and devotion. Somebody thought it would be a good idea from the Iranian regime that it would somehow convince the Muslims to rally behind them if they launched missiles towards the Holy Land. Now, when we put it like that, of course, those of you listening will be sitting there thinking, of course, that would unite Muslims against them, not for them. Why would anyone send missiles towards the Muslim Holy Land in the middle of Ramadan and then expect the Muslims to support them? Well, yes, that is obvious. But of course, ideologues often miss the obvious because their ideology acts as blinkers beyond which they cannot see. The Iranian theocrats had convinced themselves, because of their own absolute certainty in their own ideology, they had convinced themselves that the result of attacking Sunni Muslim Arab countries and the Islamic Holy Lands in the middle of the sacred month of Ramadan would result in Muslims rallying behind them. And herein lies the problem with ideologues. See, ideologues don't read reality. They don't seek to interpret reality. They always view reality through the lens of their ideology. It taints and colors how they see reality. This is why they are always so dogmatic. This is why they are always so impractical. This is why they are so always so unbearable, intolerable in terms of relationships, because they are unable to view reality except through the lens of their ideology. All ideologues share this common trait. And it's also why, in the end, they lose and they're left scratching their heads as to exactly why they lost, because they are convinced that their ideas, their theories, so pure and correct as they are, will inevitably prevail. The truth is, what actually does end up prevailing is reality, not ideas and theories. Reality ends up prevailing. So what were the ideological calculations instead of the realistic calculations that the ideologues in Iran who are running it, the Shia Islamist theocrats, what were their calculations that they made when deciding to launch missiles, not at Israel, not at America, though of course they did launch some missiles towards those as well, but the majority, and we're going to demonstrate this with facts, the majority of the missiles sent by the Iranian theocrats was sent towards their fellow Muslims in the sacred month of Ramadan. And then they're wondering why very few are backing them right now. Well, their calculation was the following. Fresh from Netanyahu and his Likudnik Zionist ethnic cleansing in Gaza, the Iranian theocrats, firstly, overestimated how much the Sunni Muslim and Arab world were prepared to betray their own principles out of anger against the Likudnik Zionists and Netanyahu, and instead side with the Iranian theocrats. The Iranian theocrats were gambling on the scale, the sheer scale of anger in the Sunni Muslim Arab world being at such heights due to Netanyahu's and his Likudnik Zionist ethnic cleansing in Gaza, that any attack on Israel by absolutely anyone would rally the Muslim world behind the attacker against Israel. So that was failed calculation number one. Failed calculation number two is that the Iranian theocrats overestimated the hatred that the Sunni Muslim and Arab populations have for their own regimes. And they again gambled that by attacking the US bases from in the Arab, Sunni Muslim Arab countries that were not used to attack Iran, by attacking those US bases, but also by attacking key points of infrastructure in those Sunni Muslim Arab lands, they would expose the fact that those regimes, the Sunni Muslim Arab countries, are either allied with Israel through the Abraham Accords, such as the UAE, or were in the middle of such negotiations, or were allied with the United States of America, such as Saudi Arabia is, such as Qatar is, and so on and so forth. So by attacking those countries, the Iranian theocrats assumed that because of those alliances with the great Satan, quote unquote, as well as the Likudnik Zionist Israel, which, of course, fresh off the ethnic cleansing in Gaza, the Iranian theocrats assumed would suffice for their purposes. They assumed that the Arab Muslim population, upon seeing that the Iranian theocrats were attacking their governments, would betray their own governments and rally instead behind the Iranian theocrats because they hate their governments that much, because their governments are allied with the United States of America in the case of Saudi Arabia, or allied with Israel, as is the case of the UAE because of the Abraham Accords. So the second mistake that the Shia Islamist theocrats made in Iran was assuming that that level of hatred by the Arab population was so great that they would betray their own countries. Again, they overestimated the disdain that the Sunni Muslim Arab population have for regimes. The Muslim Arabs have no love for the ruling classes that preside over them, but only in the sense that we here, for example, in the United Kingdom, or Americans in the United States of America, or indeed Canadians and so on and so forth, hold disdain for our own ruling elite because of the way they treated us during the COVID mandates, because of the way they treated us through the Epstein scandal, because of the way they treat us in their forever perma wars. That level of disdain that any population, such as the British population, the American population, has for its own ruling classes, exists also in the Arab world. Compound it with the fact that they are not democracies. And of course, there's a heightened sense of frustration, as was released through the Arab Spring. It was palpable and visible. However, what the Iranian theocrats miscalculated was that just as we here in the United Kingdom were grossly upset with our own ruling classes because of their behavior during COVID, the Epstein scandal, many such examples, that does not mean that we are prepared to stand with a foreign aggressor against our own country, betray our country, commit treason, and start uprising and rebelling against our own state, not just government, but our state. And that is the deluded miscalculation that the Iranian theocrats made. They assumed that the Sunni Muslim Arabs were prepared somehow to betray their countries and rally behind the Iranian theocrats simply because they don't like their own ruling classes. Both of those calculations, the level of anger that was estimated against Israel and America, and the level of anger that the theocrats estimated Sunni Muslim Arabs have against their own governments, both of those calculations have been demonstrated after, by the time this week has passed, to have been grave miscalculations and overestimations. And this is how we're going to now demonstrate this for the rest of this stream. The reason these miscalculations happen, by the way, is because, as we said, as is common with all ideologues, they over rely on the lens, the ideological lens that they use to view reality, and they are not looking, they're not reading reality. And that's what's transpired. Many people have asked us over the course of this week on social media, how do you explain the Iranians attacking their neighbors in this way? It makes no sense, many people have said, and they're bewildered as to why the Iranians would hemorrhage support in the way that they have done. But the answer is that it is the ideological blinkers that ideologues place upon themselves that prevents them from seeing the obvious. In last week's Warrior Creed live stream, we stated that the Shia Islamist theocrats in Iran are ideologically driven for conflict. And we drew the parallel with the Likudnik Zionists, also ideologically driven for conflict. And what ideology does is it, first of all, makes you see the world in terms of a them and us lens, an in-group and an out-group, and it makes you interpret the world through that lens. And you are therefore giving unwarranted and exaggerated attention to differences because you're driven by those differences yourself. That's your ideology. It thrives on making those distinctions and differences, and they matter for you because you're seeking to change the world and turn it on its head to remove those things that you see as different and change them in accordance to what your ideology dictates. So it exaggerates. That lens exaggerates the differences through which you see the world and therefore assumes that everybody else sees it in the same way as well, because you, as the ideologue, are unable to step out of that lens. And so you cannot perceive of others being able to step out of that lens either. And that is a long way of saying that when you are driven by hate and hatred, you often overestimate your own capabilities and mistake emotion for pragmatic, realistic capability. That's what the Iranian theocrats in Tehran have committed, that major mistake. It is a major miscalculation that led even to their own interim president having to issue a public apology to their neighbors, which was too little, too late, and hasn't really been received in the way that the theocrats expected it to be received. All of that we're going to go into now. So let's begin with, first of all, we mentioned the cartoon. That's on your screens again there. As you can probably figure by the introduction we've just mentioned there, this was clearly about the competition for influence over the Arab world. That's why you have Trump and the Iranian leader there playing whack-a-mole over a box labeled the Arab world, because it's about who wins the hearts and minds of the Arab world. Well, first up, Iran's lost Lebanon. Now, this is a CNN headline. It's on your screens now. Let's just blow it up for you so you can read it properly, and then we'll tell you what's happened here. But this is major news, folks. CNN reports on the 10th of March, Lebanon calls for direct talks with Israel, accuses Hezbollah of betraying the country. I'm going to read a quote from there. In a remarkable statement Monday afternoon, Lebanon called for direct talks with Israel on permanent arrangements for security and stability on our borders, while accusing the Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah of betraying the country. That is a significant development. It isn't small. It isn't a minor news development. It is a major development. Now, the Israelis, to be fair, have rebuffed this and have said, sorry, we're not interested anymore. We're going to carry on with our military operations. Why? Because what happened? Well, after the US and Israel struck and attacked Iran, Hezbollah decided to respond. This is Hezbollah, the terrorist group banned in the United Kingdom as a terrorist group, an Iranian proxy funded, set up, armed by the Iranian theocrats, but in Lebanon, a different country, not in Iran. This is the point we were making last week's stream about Iran, the Iranian theocrats' regional colonial ambitions. They were interfering in other countries' business. In Lebanon, what they did for many decades, they founded a terrorist militia that effectively runs the south of the country called Hezbollah. That militia is banned in the United Kingdom. Now, what happened is after the missile strikes on Iran, Hezbollah in Lebanon decided to retaliate on behalf of their masters in Iran by launching missiles into Israel. So, of course, Israel began an incursion into Lebanon. But the key fact here is that the Hezbollah attack into Israel from Lebanon was not approved by the Lebanese government. And that is why we end up with this CNN headline. And that is the Lebanese government, President Joseph Aoun, being absolutely disgusted at Hezbollah's actions, ended up banning them, which is something that country was unable to do up until this moment, completely banned Hezbollah, and then declared that they want to enter into permanent peace negotiations with Israel. It is a complete about turn on behalf of the Lebanese government, and they have very clearly defined their enemy in this instance as being the treacherous, as they, in their own words, the treacherous Iran-backed terrorist group Hezbollah. And we can read some of that article for you because it goes into some more detail. Here on your screens, again, CNN, 10th of March, we'll just read it for you. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun leveled sharp criticism at Hezbollah and Israel for what he called an attempt to corner my country. Now, you expect the fact that they're also upset with Israel because Israel's currently responding to those Hezbollah attacks by attacking inside Lebanon. So naturally, the Lebanese government is going to condemn Israel for that. They are, after all, the government of the country of Lebanon, not of any other country. They have to represent their own country first. It carries on. He accused Israel of showing no respect for the laws of war, nor for international laws. Israel's assault on Lebanon has displaced more than 600,000 people and killed more than 400, including scores of women and children, Aoun said. Now, here's the key part in bold. But it is his criticism of Hezbollah that is significant, calling the Shiite Muslim group an armed faction that places no value on Lebanon's interest nor on the life of its people, Aoun said. Hezbollah wanted to achieve the fall of the state of Lebanon under aggression and chaos. He accused the group of working for the sake of the calculations of the Iranian regime. So here we have the president of Lebanon accusing Hezbollah, which effectively runs half of his country, of being treacherous, of serving a foreign power, namely Iran, and of wanting the destruction of the state of Lebanon through chaos and aggression. Now, this is what we said in last week's stream. If you recall, we said it isn't just Israel that the Arab countries are upset with. It is also Iran, because Iran also has regional, colonial, expansionist ambitions. Iran and the theocrats inside Iran who are ruling it are ideologically driven for conflict. This is what we said last week. And here you see now Lebanon saying the same thing, saying very clearly, the president of Lebanon, that Hezbollah wants the destruction of Lebanon and under aggression and chaos. And they're serving the interests of Iran. Now we're going to continue reading from that, one more section from that CNN article on the 10th of March. Lebanese President Joseph Aoun called for a new initiative backed by the international community, which would establish a truce between Israel and Lebanon while helping the Lebanese armed forces disarm Hezbollah and confiscate its weaponry. The initiative would put in place a complete truce with a halt to Israeli attacks as the two countries begin direct negotiations under international sponsorship to achieve a final cessation of hostile acts and permanent arrangements for security and stability on our borders. Under Aoun's idea, Israel would gradually withdraw from the territories it has occupied in southern Lebanon, with its forces to be replaced by the Lebanese military. Key point here, last week, Lebanon's government declared Hezbollah's military activities illegal, but it does not have the force required to effectively disarm Hezbollah on its own. Now, this is why the Israelis have said, thank you for your gesture, but it ain't happening at the moment. We're not going to enter into permanent peace with you until Hezbollah's disarmed first. And of course, the Lebanese government doesn't have the power to disarm Hezbollah. Hezbollah and its power in Lebanon rivals that of factions of the Lebanese military. It is a serious problem that has been brewing for decades. That is the scale of Iran's colonial interference in its neighboring Arab countries. And it's got to such a point now where the Lebanese government is prepared to make permanent peace with Israel while banning Hezbollah. There we have it, folks. However that turns out, the point being that the gesture in itself indicates our point here, that the regional countries are rallying not behind Iran against Israel, they're rallying behind each other, the regional Arab countries, against Iran. That's what's going on. And that's what the rest of this stream is going to demonstrate. So next door to Lebanon is Syria, very, very close as countries. Effectively, they are, share a common identity, language, food. Pretty much Lebanon and Syria are brothers and sisters in terms of countries. And the Spectator reports that the Syrian government says that Hezbollah has shelled positions near Damascus. So Hezbollah didn't just attack Lebanon, it also attacked Israel from Lebanon, causing the destruction of Lebanon. But that Iranian terrorist militia also started attacking Syria as well, because keep in mind, why Syria? Keep in mind that the Syrian government, that is currently the government of Syria, under Prime Minister Ahmed al-Shara, is the government that overthrew Iran's client state in Syria under the Assad dynasty. And Assad, Bashar al-Assad, and his father, Hafiz al-Assad, were multi-generational dictators in Syria belonging to the Alawite minority Shia sect. And the Iranian theocrats, the Shia Islamists, were propping up the Alawite family dynasty in Syria against its majority Sunni Muslim Arab population. Hezbollah was used by the Iranian theocrats as a terrorist group from Lebanon. They were sent into Syria to fight on behalf of the dictator Assad. Keep in mind, this is a group that claims they represent Islam and Muslims, right? They were fighting on behalf of the secular Arab National Socialist, Nazi, National Socialist, Ba'athist dictator of Syria against the Syrian population. So the Syrians are not very quick to forgive Iran, the theocrats in Iran, nor forgive the terrorist militia of Hezbollah. Hezbollah knows that, so they started firing rockets into Syria as well. And here is one Syrian analyst, Omar Abu Alayla, reporting. We'll just read it for you. Breaking. Hezbollah militia fired shells at Syrian army positions near Sargaya, West Damascus. Hezbollah militias have also sent reinforcements to the Syrian-Lebanese border areas. The Syrian army is in contact with the Lebanese army and is considering all options to take the necessary measures in response to these movements. Remember what we said, that the Iranian miscalculation, and really this is the crux of it, folks. The Iranian miscalculation was that the Sunni Muslim Arab world would rally behind Iran against Israel. What you're witnessing instead is that the Arabs are rallying with each other against Iran. So now we've just demonstrated that Lebanon and Syria are rallying against Iran and against Iran's terrorist militia, Hezbollah, and that the Lebanese and Syrian army are now beginning to cooperate after Lebanon already banned Hezbollah. Lebanon saying it wants peace with Israel, and they're working with the Syrian army against who? Against Iran. This is how it's unfolding, and it will continue to unfold in this way. It's not just Syria and Lebanon. We're going to keep showing you more of what's going on in the region, but we thought we'd start with Syria and Lebanon because the major news that Lebanon has pressed for peace negotiations with Israel is a significant development a week into this war. So there's Syria, but now the Mufti of Syria. Now this is important. The highest religious authority in Syria, there he is on your screens, Osama al-Rafa'i. He's given a speech as to what Syria's and the Syrian population's position should be towards Iran. And it is pretty much along the lines of last week's Warrior Creed. If you recall, we said that it isn't just Israel under the Likud Zionists and Netanyahu who are ideologically driven for expansion and conflict in the region, but also it is the Iranian Shia Islamist theocrats who are ideologically driven for expansion and conflict and colonialism in the region, and that the Sunni Muslim Arabs want nothing to do with either party. Well, that's exactly what the highest religious authority inside Syria, the Mufti of Syria, has said recently in a speech. This is Osama Rafai outlining his government's and his country's formal position on it. We're just going to play this for you here, and it's got subtitles so you can read along.
أولا وما من يد إلا يد الله فوقها وما من ظالم إلا سيبلى بأظلمه وهذا عليه أدلة من أحاديث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. الآن ما بدي أطول عليكم أنا كثير، في أحاديث كثيرة تدل على هذا المعنى. فابتلي الظالم بالظالم ليش؟ حتى الله سبحانه وتعالى ما يتعبنا في هذا. الله بيبلينا وبيخلصنا من الاثنين. يعني ينبغي أن نقف عند هذا الحد، انه ظالمين واعين بعضهم بعض، ولكن نحن المفروض عاطفيا وشعوريا انه نحزن على اخواننا وغير الساسانيين في ايران، وهم كثر. انه نأسف ونتمنى لهم الرحمه ان شاء الله، والجرحى نتمنى لهم الشفاء وان يعافيهم الله تبارك وتعالى.
Well, there we have it. If you didn't catch that, that's the highest religious authority in Syria, the Mufti of Syria, Osama Rafai, saying very clearly that they refuse to side with Iran. Of course, they're not going to side with Israel. What they said instead was this is one oppressor fighting another oppressor, and let them fight each other. Nothing to do with us, governor. We're not getting involved. He did express condolences for the average, everyday Iranian people who are suffering in this war. Of course, that's natural. They're being bombed, and anyone that's being injured anywhere that's being bombed, of course, our sympathies are with them. War is always horrific. But making it very clear there from Syria that they refuse to back Iran, even though Iran made the calculation. Keep in mind, they've declared a global jihad. They made the calculation that all Muslims everywhere would rally behind them. It fell flat. Yes, there were some brief skirmishes and disturbances in Pakistan at the US consulate in Karachi. That's largely because Pakistan's minority Shiite population were in that region. They were the ones protesting outside the US embassy in Karachi. But the overwhelming majority of Muslims are Sunni Muslim, around 80% around the world. And the overwhelming majority of Sunni Muslims and Arabs have not backed Iran. We've just shown you Lebanon and Syria. We're going to keep going. But the reason, before we show you all the other countries, the reason for that is this right here. And let's show you the graph first. So this is a plot of all of the Iranian missiles that were sent to various countries. I'll blow this up on your screens for you so you can see it for yourselves. And of course, it highlights the problem clearly. So let's read the top verse. The UAE has always opposed war and favored diplomacy. The UAE has always been clear. No attack on Iran could be launched from the UAE. Explain this. What are we looking to explain? Well, when we move this down, you'll see at the bottom there, that's the list of all the countries that Iran, the Iranian theocrats, have sent missiles towards. And you can see the first one, the UAE, the second one, Kuwait, third, Qatar. This is in order of how many missiles they've sent, okay? The fourth, Bahrain, and then the fifth, Israel. And the numbers are there, right? Then it's Jordan, Cyprus, Oman, and Saudi Arabia. This is now, obviously, these figures are now out of date. Saudi Arabia has received more than 2 missiles since this graph was published. But what you can see clearly is the large, overwhelming majority of missiles sent by Iran have gone first and foremost to the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, right? 1,268 drone targets and missile targets have gone to the UAE, right? There you can see it, the first big fat graph there. The second one, Kuwait, 562 to Kuwait. The third one, 162 to Qatar, 129 to Bahrain, and then 113 to Israel. All right. Now, again, we're going to caveat this graph is out of date since we've published it. Now it's a lot more. They've been sending a lot more missiles towards Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and the Emiratis and the Saudis. And of course, Turkey's received a good few. And then add to that Azerbaijan and you've got a serious problem here, all of which we're going to go into. But this graph from roughly 4 or 5 days ago is still sufficient to make the point. This is why the Sunni Muslim Arab world and the Arab world generally are upset with Iran, because for reasons that they're probably themselves now, well, we know they are because they formally apologized, but for reasons that even themselves they're probably regretting, they decided that in the first hours of the war, after being attacked by the US and Israel, the best thing to do in the middle of the holy month of Ramadan was attack their neighbors 10 times more than the country that attacked them, which was Israel. If you look at this graph, that's 10 times more missiles that they sent to the UAE than they sent to Israel in the middle of Ramadan. And they somehow thought that by declaring a jihad and telling all Muslims to rally behind them, it would work while they're bombing Muslims in Ramadan. It is crazy. Whatever war calculations the theocrats were making, and people often give credit, I give credit myself to Persians for being a very logical and philosophically capable, intelligent population with 3,000 years to get this right in terms of thinking and how to think. And this is the damage that ideology does. Of course, 3,000 years, that's not how long Shia Islamism has been in Iran for. Shia Islamism only came about in 1979. And we would put it to you, it is the ideological blinkers that have prevented them from seeing the absolutely obvious. And that is, if you start bombing Muslim countries in Ramadan, if you start bombing the Holy Lands, the Islamic Holy Lands in Ramadan, then declare a jihad and expect all Muslims to rally behind you, it ain't going to happen. You're bombing Muslims and then telling them that you're on their side. It is clear from this graph, which is also out of date by now, it's even worse now, that they're bombing Muslims 10 times more than they're even bombing Israel, which attacked them. Of course, the gaslighters have said that, oh, but they're only doing that because there were US bases. You can see here, look, there's one reply. US bases, it says. You can see it on your screens. And we're just going to read you our response to this because it's unequivocal, folks. There's no way around it. You can see at the bottom there, US bases is what somebody replied when we put that graph up. But here is our detailed response to that. Stop gaslighting. Stop being the perpetrator and then blaming the victim for your violence like an abusive spouse does to their partner in domestic abuse. You made me do it. That's the definition of gaslighting. Why is it a gaslight? Well, first of all, as you can see on your screens, Iran didn't just attack US bases. It attacked airports such as the Kuwaiti airport and the Dubai airport. It attacked hotels such as in Dubai. It attacked embassies such as in Erbil in Iraq. It attacked ports such as in Amman. And it attacked industrial zones such as in Syria and even more this week in other countries. So that's point one. It didn't just attack US bases. It was attacking civilian infrastructure. Point two, those bases in Arab lands and the UK were expressly prohibited for American use to attack Iran, yet Iran attacked regardless. At the beginning of this conflict, none of those bases that Iran attacked were allowed to be used by the Americans and the Israelis to attack Iran. Even the British prohibited their special relationship America from using their bases, much, may we add, to Keir Starmer's own detriment. But nevertheless, even the British prohibited the Americans from using their bases. The Arabs, the Saudis, the Emiratis, the Qataris, the Kuwaitis, they all said, do not use our bases to attack the Iranians. And the Americans didn't use their bases. Once the Iranians started attacking all their neighbors, of course, by then, you're lobbing missiles over to us in Cyprus. The Prime Minister then says, well, okay, well, I suppose you can use our bases to defend us against such attacks, which is what happened. Again, gross miscalculation by the Iranians. And yes, it's been reported that the attack on our base in Cyprus didn't originate from Iran, even though it was a Shaheed-like drone. In other words, an Iranian model drone. But the attack didn't originate from Iran. That's because the working assumption is that it originated from Lebanon, from Hezbollah, which is right near Cyprus. When they attacked Israel, they also attacked our base in Cyprus. So that's the situation we're in. To continue reading from that response to the gaslighter, point 3. Remember we said, so point 1 was clear. It wasn't just bases that Iran attacked, it was civilian infrastructure. Point 2 was that even the bases that they did attack weren't used to attack Iran. And here's point 3. Why did the Iranian president, Pezeshkian, lamely apologize? Too little, too late, but nevertheless, he apologized. If this was okay, why apologize? Clearly, even the Iranian theocracy leadership realizes that they've screwed up and lost Sunni Muslim hearts and minds. So that last point, if you're claiming that the reason Iran and the Iranian theocrats decided to attack their neighbors, attack all the Sunni Muslim Arabs around them, is because bases that weren't even used in the first place to attack Iran, but then if that did hold up, why did the Iranian interim president apologize? And in his apology, which I'm about to play you, admit that they were attacking people that didn't attack them first. The apology itself admits this, right? You're going to hear it now, and you're going to listen, because he says, okay, we promise from here on in only to attack those countries that attack us first. That is an implicit admission that up until now, you're attacking countries that didn't attack you first. Here is the too little, too late apology by Iran's interim president, Masoud Pezeshkian, who made this apology about a couple of days ago on Iranian state television. And we will just play it for you. It's got English subtitles underneath. So pay attention to the meaning of what he's saying. And you'll find that he apologizes and admits that they attacked countries that did not attack them first.
I need to apologize on behalf of myself to our neighboring countries that have come under attack by Iran. Because of the vicious assault on us, we lost our supreme leader, our compatriots and loved ones. Our armed forces, when their commanders were gone, conducted the operations that were necessary and protected our country with strength. We do not intend to conduct an assault on neighboring countries. And like I've said before, they are our brothers. We have to be hand in hand with our brothers in peace. And the Interim Council approved a decision yesterday. That decision was relayed to our forces that they should no longer attack neighboring countries unless there is an attack on Iran staged on their soil.
So there was the apology. And then if you call that last line, that we've told our military people that they should no longer attack our neighboring countries unless they've attacked us first, an implicit recognition that they were attacking them even when they hadn't attacked Iran first. There we have it, folks. And that explains why Iran has hemorrhaged support in the entire region. And despite that apology, some of the more sectarian ideologues inside Iran, such as their English language spokesperson, Sayyid Mohammad Marandi, continued celebrating attacks on civilian infrastructure on the very day that his own interim president made that apology. That's how brazen they are in their own deluded self-righteousness. You can see there we've put sectarian Iranian regime propagandist celebrates the bombing of the Sunni Muslim Arab-owned Dubai International Airport this morning. The UAE did not attack your sectarian Shia Islamist theocratic regime. You are a warmongering ideologue, drunk on your own propaganda. Because here, you see what he said? That's Marandi saying, as long as Arab family dictatorships in the Persian Gulf allow the Trump regime to use their territory against Iran, they will continue to face the consequences. These despots must decide to end this murderous partnership before it's too late. Dubai Airport this morning. And then he posts this video of Dubai Airport being blown up. And we're going to play it for you now.
Another drone. I don't know if you can see or not. He's coming to the airport again. Ya Allah. Ya Allah, straight to the airport. Oh my God. Ya Rab. Ya Rab. Ya Rab. Straight to the aircraft. Straight to... Ya Allah. Did it hit the aircraft? No, it hit next to us here actually. Je pense, yeah. It's another drone.
That's not a US base. And even if it had been, the US bases were not used in those Arab countries to attack Iran. But that's clearly not a US base. It's an airport. The Iranian theocrats have been attacking Arab-owned civilian infrastructure across the region and openly and brazenly celebrating it, such as their English language spokesperson Morandi did just there, on the very day that their interim president apologized for doing exactly that. And then they wonder why Sunni Muslims aren't rallying behind them in their so-called jihad. Well, this is what we said in last week's dispatch. The title is there on your screens. Iran replies to Israeli strikes by attacking Sunni Muslim Arabs and the UK. In point 4, we said the Sunni Muslim Arab response. The Sunni Muslim Arabs of the region who were attacked by Iran were unified in their condemnation, with Saudi Arabia declaring that it would militarily support the US war if necessary. Of course, once the above list is presented in such a way, the anger of Sunni Muslim Arab countries are being attacked is easy to understand. And then we put this post from one of the first days of the conflict. We said the entire world is unifying against the Islamist theocracy in Iran. Sunni Muslims will be at the forefront. The religious clerics in Tehran have overplayed their hand. Keep watching. And that is indeed how it transpired. We're going to show you now a list of all the condemnations coming from all the Arab countries and everything they're threatening to do in response to Iran's attack on them. And the first, let's start with the Arab League. Now, the Arab League is basically the United Nations of the Arab world. All right, it's the club for all Arab countries. The Arab League came out, and their Secretary General Ahmed Abul Ghait came out very clear. We'll read it for you. As reported by Al Arabiya English, the Arab League Secretary General has slammed Iran's reckless attacks against several member states, urging Tehran to reverse what he called a massive strategic mistake. Massive is an understatement. Ahmed Abul Ghait said the strikes cannot be justified under any pretext or excuse and repaid peace efforts by Gulf countries with treacherous rockets and drone strikes. In other words, Iran behaved treacherously. Right? This is a statement from the Secretary General of the Arab League. It doesn't just stop with the Arab League, though. Egypt took it one step further. That's on your screens now. Egyptian newspaper Al Ahram Daily has an Arabic language and an English language version. This is the English language version. 8th of March reports from Al Ahram. Egypt pushes for joint Arab force as regional tensions escalate. To continue reading, Egypt's foreign minister Badr al-Lati has called on Sunday for activating frameworks of joint Arab cooperation, including the formation of a joint Arab force, as Arab states confront escalating regional tensions and Iranian attacks targeting several countries in the region. We're going to read a quote from that article for you. A foreign ministry statement said that Abdul-Lati, it should say, made the remarks during a virtual ministerial level extraordinary session at the Arab League Council, held and chaired by the UAE, to discuss the ongoing military escalation and attacks affecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of a number of Arab states. During the meeting, Abdul-Lati stressed the need to activate the concept of Arab national security to safeguard the sovereignty and stability of Arab countries, noting that the stronger mechanisms of collective Arab coordination are required to address current threats effectively. The Egyptian foreign minister also expressed Egypt's full solidarity with who? Who did he express full solidarity with? The Egyptian foreign minister also expressed full solidarity with the Gulf states, Jordan, and Iraq in confronting the Iranian attacks, stressing Egypt's categorical condemnation and complete rejection of the assaults, as well as any justifications offered to defend them. Right, so here we have now, so far, Lebanon, Syria, the entire Arab League, and now Egypt rallying very clearly against who? Against Iran. The Arab League openly condemning Iran, but Egypt saying, beyond the condemnation, we need to unify with a regional security cooperation, a joint Arab defense force against who? Against the Iranian theocrats. Of course, the Mutual Defense Pact already exists, even though it's not an Arab one. It's a Muslim Middle Eastern one, and that is with Pakistan and Saudi Arabia and potentially Turkey joining the Mutual Defense Pact as well. Perhaps the Arab League could join that one. Regardless, the point is both the one that already exists between Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and NATO member Turkey, and the one that's being proposed here by the Arab League, both exclude the Iranian theocrats. And that is by design. And so here we've got the Egyptians moving now to Saudi Arabia. As Reuters reports, that's on your screens now. Saudi Arabia has told Tehran that while it favors a diplomatic settlement to Iran's conflict with the United States, continued attacks on the kingdom and its energy sector could push Riyadh to respond in kind. Four sources familiar with the matter told Reuters. So the Saudis are still threatening to respond to the Iranians and now to the Emiratis. That's on your screens from Iran International English. United Arab Emirates President Mohammed ibn Zayed al Nahyan issued a thinly veiled warning to Iran, saying his country is not easy prey and referring to Tehran as the enemy. A notable departure from the language the UAE has traditionally used toward its northern neighbor. So the UAE now, for the first time, declaring Iran its enemy. To continue reading, the president said he wanted to send a message to the enemy of the UAE. Speaking during a visit to a hospital treating civilians wounded in the strikes, he cautioned Iran, "The UAE is beautiful. The UAE is a model to be followed, but I tell you, do not be deceived by that. The UAE's hand can reach and is strong, its flesh is bitter, and we are not easy prey." The comments, his first since the war began, were broadcast shortly after the Emirati Air Defense responded to a missile threat, despite Iran's president having suggested earlier in the day that attacks across the Persian Gulf would stop. That's the video we just played you of the interim president apologizing for these attacks. So the UAE, they're clearly now deciding and labeling Iran its enemy. There is the leader of the UAE. UAE president calls Iran the enemy in rare public remarks. And now moving to Turkey. As Al Arabiya English has reported, that's on your screens now. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says that Turkey has issued a warning to Iran after NATO air defenses shot down a second Iranian ballistic missile that entered its space. We're just going to play that video for you. This is, I think, subtitled, so you can hear Erdogan warning Iran to back off.
Bugünkü hadise bağlamında yanlışta ısrar ve inat edilmemesi gerektiğini bir kez daha hatırlatıyorum. Gelişmeleri NATO ve diğer müttefiklerimizle eşgüdüm içinde takip edecek, güvenliğimizi tahkim edecek ilave önlemleri almayı sürdüreceğiz. Akabinde İran makamlarına gerekli ikazlar yapıldı. Ancak burada şu hususu altını çizerek ifade etmek durumundayım. Samimi uyarılarımıza rağmen Türkiye'nin dostluğunu zora sokacak.
So there is the leader of Turkey also warning Iran to back off, but it doesn't stop there. Qatar, as you can see here, reported by Sky News, that's on your screens now. Iran's miscalculation has destroyed everything, the Qatari Prime Minister says, and that's with Sky News' Yalda Hakim. I'm going to play you that video as well so you can hear the same coming from Qatar. Remember, the topic of the stream today, the Sunni Muslim Arabs have rallied against Iran. They've rallied behind each other against Iran. They are not doing what Iran said they would do, which is rally behind Iran against Israel. Here is the Qatar Prime Minister saying as much as well.
A big sense of betrayal. This is the second time. That's why it's also like for us, it's been something really significant to see the attack, which was showing that being pre-planned. Like once the war started, just maybe an hour after the start of the war, Qatar and the other Gulf countries being attacked right away. And all of us before this war and repeatedly we've been saying and repeating that we are not going to take part of any attacks or any wars against our neighbors. We would like to see a peaceful neighborhood. We were helping Iran and the United States in reaching diplomatic solutions. But this miscalculation by the Iranians to attack the Gulf countries has destroyed everything, actually. we would be like the glimpse of hope to bring some diplomatic solutions to the current conflict, and to be to be attacked by one of the parties of that conflict. We will prioritize, of course, defending our country and making sure that our people's lives goes normally, and they, as much as possible, they don't feel these threats coming to our countries.
So there you heard it. It's again very clear. They are rallying behind each other against Iran, not against Israel. Now we move to Kuwait, as is on your screens now. Al Arabiya English reports. The Kuwaiti Emir says we were subjected to a brutal attack by a neighboring country that we considered a friend, adding that Iran attacked Kuwait even though we did not allow our territory to be used in any action against it. That is the Kuwaiti reaction. We move to Bahrain, where matters have developed to such a point, folks, where they're even praying against Iran in their Ramadan nightly prayers. This is why we started off like, what idiot in Tehran among the Iranian theocrats decided it was a good idea to launch missiles into their neighboring Sunni Muslim Arab countries in the middle of Ramadan and then expect them to rally behind Iran against Israel and then declare a jihad. I mean, really, really stupid. Here you see in Bahrain, they are in Ramadan prayers. Somebody called Saud Salman al-Dosari has said that during the holy month of Ramadan, as we enter the final 10 nights, a video from Bahrain shows a mosque's imam supplicating, may Allah bring down their aircraft. At the exact moment, an Iranian drone being intercepted is heard in the background. No one moves. Extraordinary. Well, here's the video for you. We'll just play it for you. This is a prayer, an Islamic prayer in the middle of Ramadan in a mosque against Iran, not against Israel. And you hear an Iranian bomb blowing up in the skies above them as they're praying. Take a listen to this.
اللهم اجعل تدبيرهم تدميرا عليهم اللهم إنهم قد طغوا وبغوا وعاثوا في الأرض فسادا اللهم فأسقط طائراتهم اللهم اجعل تدبيرهم تدميرا عليهم اللهم إنهم قد طغوا وبغوا وعاثوا في الأرض فسادا اللهم
Now, we played that twice for you, so you could see it clearly there. That is in Bahrain, in a mosque, in Ramadan, nightly prayers, and they're making prayer against Iran. And as they do, and he's saying, oh God, please destroy their aeroplanes, destroy their missiles, turn their destruction, attempted destruction of us as a destruction instead on them. And as he says that precise line, an Iranian drone is intercepted above them, and you hear a large explosion. You hear the people you see the people in that prayer line shake. The wind blows them like that, but they stand their ground and continue their prayers. But you see, it is backfired monumentally against Iran. The absurd decision to attack Sunni Muslim Arabs and then expect them to support you, even the famous Kurds. And here we have, according to Al Jazeera, Baba Sheikh Hosseini, the Iraq-based Secretary General of the Khabat Organization of Iranian Kurdistan, has told Al Jazeera it's highly likely that Iraq-based Iranian Kurdish fighters will stage a ground operation in Iran, confirming that the US has made contact. Now, before we play this video, it isn't highly likely. It's probably not going to happen that Kurdish ground forces go in. It might happen, but it would get very complicated if they did because of Turkey's own concern with any Kurdish expansion beyond the KRG, the Kurdish regional government in northern Iraq. It might happen, but also in Syria, you've got a similar situation where the new Syrian government, to maintain its own territorial integrity, is not interested in any further Kurdish expansion. Nevertheless, we play this video for you simply to highlight that even the Kurds are rallying with the Arabs against Iran. So here is a Kurd based in Iraq.
We've been planning for a long time, and now that conditions are more favorable, there is a strong probability of action. We have yet to reach a decisive decision, but but it is highly likely we will move forward with a ground operation. The Americans have contacted us through various channels, but until now we have not met directly, but they contacted us. They asked what we should do with this regime, what are the ways, and talking if we can cooperate together in the future.
So there you have it. The Kurds as well rallying with Sunni Muslim Arabs against Iran as an outcome to this war. And also Azerbaijan. This is one that is an interesting one. We're going to read this for you first. According to Clash Report, Azerbaijan's President Aliyev, after Iran's drone attack on Azerbaijan today, we are ready to show our strength against any evil force and let them not forget this in Iran. This terrorist act they committed, along with all other dirty factors, is a clear example of ingratitude, says the president of Azerbaijan. As soon as the recent events took place, we sent them a message and expressed our condolences. The Minister of Foreign Affairs spoke with his counterpart on my instructions, and I personally went to their embassy to offer condolences, although no other head of state had done so. To disregard this, to trample it down, and to behave like base, ungrateful people brings honor to no one. Those dishonorable people who committed this terrorist act against us will regret it. Let them not test our strength. The heads of those who tried to test our strength were split by the iron fist. This is the President Aliyev of Azerbaijan responding because Iran also sent drones in their direction as well. And here he is on video saying some of what we just read out for you as well, which we'll just play for you to see. It's got English subtitles underneath.
Şər qüvvəyə qarşı öz gücümüzü göstərməyə hazırıq və İranda bunu unutmasınlar. Və onların bu törətdiyi terror aktı bütün başqa çirkin amillərlə yanaşı böyük nankörlük nümunəsidir. Son hadisələr baş verən kimi biz onlara xəbər göndərdik, başsağlığı verdik. Xarici İşlər Naziri mənim göstərişimlə həmkarı ilə danışdı. Mən onların səfirliyinə gedib başsağlığı vermək üçün öz mövqeyimi bildirdim. Halbuki məndən başqa heç bir dövlət başçısı İranın heç bir səfirliyinə getməyib. Yəni bunu qiymətləndirməmək, bunu yerə vurmaq, özlərini alçaq nankörlər kimi aparmaq heç kimə şərəf gətirmir. Və bu şərəfsizlər, bizə qarşı bu terror aktını törədənlər peşman olacaqlar. Bizim gücümüzü sınamasınlar. Bizim gücümüzü sınamaq istəyənlər, onların başı yarıldı dəmir yumruq vasitəsilə. Bugünkü hadisə də eyni nəticəni hasil edəcək.
Now, the interesting thing is that Azerbaijan isn't even Sunni Muslim or Arab. It is 85% Shia Muslim, and even they are not standing behind Iran, despite being Shia. Because even though Iran, the Iranian theocrats, that is, have ambitions, colonial ambitions, to dominate through their sectarian theocracy all in the region, the Shia of Azerbaijan do not subscribe to Shia Islamism, and that makes them an enemy to the Shia Islamists, whereas the Shiite Assad family, the Alawite Assad family minority sect that was ruling in Syria, did align with the Iranian Shia Islamist theocrats, and so they helped to prop them up. But the 85% Shia in Azerbaijan refused to ally with Iran. In fact, Azerbaijan as a country is quite closely allied to Israel, and hence Iran's decision to send missiles in their direction. But again, only succeeded in uniting everybody against them. And this has confounded certain online commentators who have been pro-war in the name of being anti-war, right? But pro-backing Iran's war against Sunni Muslims. And so here you have world champion BJJ fighter Jake Shields, who's been on a Warrior Creed interview many years ago. And he says, why is every Sunni Muslim country uniting with Israel instead of Iran and Lebanon? Only Shia Muslims are willing to fight for the Palestinians when they are Sunni. I'm sure this tweet will anger a lot of people, but I call out bullshit wherever. It's time the Sunnis fight back. And we've written there above, at least he's paying attention. He's confused as to why Sunni Muslim Arabs would refuse to back the country that's bombing them. It's quite obvious why they're not behind Iran. Iran is bombing them right now in the middle of the holy month of Ramadan, sending missiles into Muslim countries, killing Muslims. And yet they claim they want to lead the Islamic nation while sending missiles directly towards the Islamic Holy Lands. It is quite obvious. Well, it was at least to us, maybe not to people living in internet bubbles, that the Iranians would end up hemorrhaging support. So bad has it become for them that even Sunni Islamists are beginning to back away from the Shia Islamist theocratic regime. And here is the latest example of that for you on your screens now. We'll just read you our top comment there first. It's self-explanatory. Seeing the writing on the wall, even Sunni Islamists have started to back away from championing the Shia Islamist theocracy in Iran as the hero in this fight. Former leader of the now banned Islamist group, Hizb ut-Tahrir UK, my former leadership committee colleague, Dr. Abdul Wahid, writing for the Islamist platform 5 Pillars UK. And then there is his article, 5 Pillars. Dr. Abdul Wahid argues that while the US-Israel attack on Iran is unjustifiable, the Iranian regime's own contradictory record, you see that? He says the Iranian regime's own contradictory record has complicated how many Muslims perceive the conflict, exposing the failures of the modern nation-state system in the Muslim world and raising urgent concerns. So you've got a scenario where even the Sunni Islamists are beginning to back away from backing the Shia Islamist regime of theocrats in Iran because they've realized, they've seen the writing on the wall, and they've realized that this is unsustainable. You cannot expect Sunni Muslims and Arabs to back a country against Israel and America when it's that country, Iran, that is the one bombing them right now, not Israel and America. And of course, it's if you, for those who understand exactly what this regime is, the Off Guardian article that we've posted here, again, this will be provided for you in tomorrow's Radical Dispatch, is no surprise, but it's a good read nevertheless, a brief history of Iran's collaboration with the CIA and the globalist agenda. Off Guardian, examination of the recent history of Iran shows that they have consistently taken part in psyops and media narratives, and that this demonstrates collusion with Western governments and indeed the globalist factions therein. It's a good piece. We'll put it in tomorrow's Radical Dispatch, and you can see it yourselves. The Sunni Muslim Arabs are aware that the Iranian theocracy has not been, for a very long time, has been no friend of theirs. In last week's Warrior Creed live stream, we also presented video of how the Iranian theocrats collaborated in the invasion of Iraq and in the invasion of Afghanistan. All of that was demonstrated for those of you that require revision. You can go back to last week's stream or to last week's Radical Dispatch, and it is all in there. But this article also by Off Guardian provides some extra information as well. And so despite what Warhawk Senator Lindsey Graham says, which is here, and he says the American embassy is being evacuated in Riyadh because of sustained attacks by Iran against the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It is my understanding that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia refuses to use their capable military as part of an effort to end the barbaric and terrorist Iranian regime who has terrorized the region and killed 7 Americans. Question: why should America do a defense agreement with a country like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that is unwilling to join a fight of mutual interest? Americans are dying, and the US is spending billions to dislodge the terrorist Iranian regime that threatens the region. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia seems to be issuing statements and doing things in the background that are marginally helpful, but are unwilling to participate in military operations to end the reign of terror coming out of Iran. Hopefully, Gulf Cooperation Council countries will get more involved as this fight is in their backyard. If you're not willing to use your military now, when are you willing to use it? Hopefully, this changes soon. If not, consequences will follow. And what we've said is Warhawk US Senator Lindsey Graham is unhappy that Sunni Muslim Gulf Arabs and Saudis in particular have refused to be dragged into Iran and Israel's war, saying hopefully this changes soon. If not, consequences will follow. The man has been salivating at the prospect of World War III. Ignore him. So despite the fact that the Sunni Muslim Arab countries are not rallying behind Iran, one thing they're also not doing, contrary to what Lindsey Graham wants them to do, is to fall into Iran's trap. Iran was seeking to expand the war. By attacking its neighbors, It was seeking to embroil its neighbors in this war so as to force them to join. And by joining against Iran on the side of Israel, it was seeking to incite a revolution or an Arab Spring against those rulers from within their own countries, because it was hoping that its population would be so disgusted that its rulers were fighting alongside Israel against Iran. Of course, the Arabs didn't fall for the trap. They have not joined the war. They have not allowed for a precipitation of revolutions and riots inside their countries. They have not joined the war. But also what this is doing, and this is where Iran's miscalculated, because they expected the Arabs to join the war with Israel so that they could spark the revolutions inside Arab countries against their own rulers. By not joining the war, they've preempted that Iranian plan. Meanwhile, none of the anger against Iran for bombing them has subsided. And this is where Iran miscalculated, and instead their effort is backfiring on them as well. So their grandiosity, due to their ideological blinkers and their inability to see reality, is what blinds them. And another example of this is right here on your screens now, where they've threatened the Strait of Hormuz to be closed. And the language they've used is so grandiose, it's actually quite funny. So let's read what they've said first, as Clash Report reports there. Breaking. Iran's Iranian Revolutionary Guards Council, the IRGC, says any Arab or European country that expels the ambassadors of Israel and the United States from its territory will, starting tomorrow, have full authority and freedom to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Expelling the ambassador of the United States of America on behalf of the Iranian theocrats, and they really thought that was going to work. So we've responded quite funny in its grandiosity, actually. This is typical of all ideologues, such as the Iranian Shia Islamist theocrats. Ideologues regularly overpromise because they mistake self-righteous certainty with practical ability. In the end, they're left defeated and scratching their heads as to how and why they lost. So there we have it. The Iranian plan, the theocrats' plan, is backfiring on them. The region, the Sunni Muslim Arab and Arabs generally, and Muslims generally, even the Shia Muslims in Azerbaijan, are uniting against Iran, not with Iran, not for Iran. The plan has backfired. They are not joining the war, because that would allow for the Iranian theocrats to attempt the insurrections, and the revolutions inside the Arab countries. So the Arab countries have not joined the war with Israel, but by standing back and articulating a third position, as the Mufti of Syria, Osama Rafai, did, which is, this is one oppressor attacking another oppressor. Nothing to do with us, governor. We're going to stay out of this. By taking that third position, they've succeeded in isolating Iran while maintaining the anger of their populations against the Iranian theocrats for attacking them. And of course, America and Israel will now finish the job. When does this end? Well, folks, on this point, we conclude by saying that how it ends is, keep in mind one thing that many may have forgotten in the fog of war, and that is, before all this conflict unfolded, Trump unveiled a Gaza peace board. And on that Gaza peace board sits everybody: Saudi Arabia, the Muslim world's leading Islamic country because of the Holy Lands, NATO member Turkey, doesn't need any further explanation, a military power member of NATO, the Muslim world's only nuclear power, Pakistan, doesn't require any further explanation as to the military significance of being a nuclear power there, and the Muslim world's most populous nation, Indonesia. All of those countries sat on Trump's Gaza peace board, and many others, Qatar, Kuwait, all the other Arab countries as well, including Hamas. Hamas joined Trump's Gaza peace board. Then, in the end, very reluctantly, Israel under Netanyahu joined as well. A couple of weeks prior to this conflict, Netanyahu joined Trump's Gaza peace board. He was the last one to do so, but he joined nevertheless. The only country that did not join was Iran. So how is this conflict going to end? Well, we'll tell you how it's going to end. It's going to end the way we said it was going to end when it first started. And that is, a deal will be made with the president, President Trump. If the Iranian theocrats elect somebody who does not want to make a deal with President Trump, such as Khamenei's son Mujtaba, then this action, the Israeli and American action, will continue. And it will continue. And each time a leader pops up, if they don't want to make a deal with Trump, the action continues until they finally select a leader that does want to make a deal with President Trump. And that's how it will end. The Iranian theocrats can put forward as many belligerent leaders as they want. None of them will stand. Even Mujtaba got bombed in the end. Now he's injured in hospital, according to reports. Khamenei's son. Each leader that comes forward, if they refuse to make a deal with Trump, he'll just keep bombing until they are ready to make a deal, which is what unconditional surrender means. When they make a deal, they will then agree to join the Gaza peace. And that's when we'll have a grand regional settlement for peace. That's how this is going to unfold. Keep watching. You heard it here first. But we, as usual, will provide you all the receipts for today's stream in tomorrow's Radical Dispatch, as well as the podcast version of this Warrior Creed live stream behind a paywall for our premium subscribers. If you go to majidnawaz.substack.com, you can gain access to the free written version of this stream with all the receipts and all the links provided for you. And then behind the paywall, the complete Radical Dispatch, as well as the podcast. And becoming a premium subscriber also gives you access to other paywalled content, including advanced notification for events and ticket discounts and so on and so forth. We appreciate your support. We cannot do this work without you. Until next week, you've been listening to the Warrior Creed livestream with me, the Radical, Majid Nawaz.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. Witness the strength. Street knowledge. Street knowledge.
Terrorize the jam like troops in Pakistan.
Street knowledge. Street knowledge.
Quick service announcement brought to you in part by Warriors